Hancock, so it was a nice short ride up for me. A lot of times I'm traveling to southwestern Minnesota or northeastern Minnesota, which makes for a couple long days anyway. So it's nice to be in my stomping ground as far as golf goes, because you guys are like my mecca of golf up here. Really, I didn't grow up in a small town. I grew up in Winona, which is a pretty big city as far as I'm concerned now. I went to school at the University of Morris, and that's what kind of turned me on to small town life and what was going on, how much easier it is to get things done in a small town. And went to grad school in Missouri, came back, and moved to Hancock because Morris was just too big. So, like the small towns, you can get a lot more done. I mean, if you want to get something done, it doesn't take weeks or months of planning. You kind of, like the Lions Club, like you've got here, you want to plan something, you get it done, you find enough volunteers, and get your supplies, and get the labor, and get it done. Well, I've been involved doing rural development here now for like 15 years or 17 years, so I'm pretty new to all this. And when I first started, it was, do I have a picture? Yeah. This is what I heard all the time. The kids are all leaving, out-migration is a problem, rural areas are dying. I heard that from legislators, which, how positive is that, from one of our rural legislators to portray ourselves as a dying place. And that there's this brain drain. Does everybody know what the brain drain is? Kinda? What is it? Who knows? Yes,
People graduate and leave.
Yep, it's all the kids that leave after they graduate. And there's actually a book that just came out here recently called Hollowing Out the Middle. And it was about small towns, the demise. What was the tagline? Something like, NPR did a story on it, and it was like the demise of small towns when the kids leave. Well, I mean, our towns would have been dead years and years ago if that was true. So anyway, I walk into this kind of picture of doing rural development, and it was pretty negative. It made me think that, if you guys can't see, I definitely encourage you all to move over. That there was nothing but like dark times ahead where all these storm clouds and boy, what am I getting myself into kind of thing. What we do know, in 25 of the past 35 years now, there's been a rural rebound. People have been moving to rural places from urban places for 25 of the past 35 years. The only time we lagged out was in the 80s. There's a little bit of lag. But there's a lot of research on this. You tend not to hear about it because, good news doesn't have a lot of cachet, I guess, in terms of where the books get written and some of the things that the metropolitan media cover. We did a study of Star Tribune and Pioneer Press over 2 years and looked at how they, well, number one, we looked at where were their rural stories. And their rural stories, 65% of them were within the metro area. So it was like, Forest Lake is struggling to maintain their small town character when they didn't even know what that meant. I mean, there literally is no agreement upon what that meant. So what we do know is there's this rebound. In the 70s and the 90s and all the way through the 2000s here, we've seen more and more people move to rural places. And it's kind of selective. In fact, so if you get people that say everybody's leaving the small town, I'm going to give you an argument and data behind. I'm a data guy. I love data. But I also know that your eyes all gloss over when I start putting up tables and things. So I'm going to leave those out, and I've got maps for you. So between 90 and 2000, 2.2 million more people moved from the city to the country than vice versa. 2.2 million more people moved from the cities to our rural areas. In Minnesota, we look at the map here, and we know where the growth is. Where did people generally move to? The lakes. Lakes, retirement counties. The deeper red you are, and this is a township map, but the cities are so small in here you can barely see them. But we do see a lot of gains in we call it the concentric ring around the Twin Cities. There's some growth there. There's also growth in North Central, the Brainerd, Bemidji area. But we've also got growth in Douglas County, Otter Tail County, kind of these secondary recreational areas here in western Minnesota. Number one predictor of population increase is proximity to or presence of water. You don't have to have it, you need to be close to it though. Number one predictor of population decline. Agriculture is a primary industry driving your county. You want to guarantee people leaving the county between those 10 years, it's a focus on agriculture as an economic development strategy. Number two predictor of population decline is reliance on manufacturing. We've seen tremendous losses, tremendous changes in our rural economy. ag used to dominate the economy. I mean, up until 1940, 50, 60, right in there, ag was the primary industry out here. Manufacturing took over, but even now manufacturing's been on the decline. The number one industry today, number two industries are health and education services, have been the two growers. So go chiropractic. Here's the county where I live. This is Stevens County. From 1900 to 2000, you see we kind of peaked in the 50s, 60s, 70s.